are back in your host, Pixelated Shovel in Hand, to bring you another episode of the Resurrected or When It Was You podcast. For newbies, think of us as your friendly neighbourhood video game book club, and for everyone, my name is David Polar Knight Smiley, and my partner in crime is Mr. Alex Tinker Knight Aldridge. How are you today, Alex? Strong t-shirt game.
Pretty good, thanks.
Strong t-shirt game, strong amiibo game. How much is that amiibo? Is it still purchasable?
Very interesting questions. Well, they did just dump a load of new amiibo out again, didn't they? But I think that was the Smash Bros. Stuff.
Well, you're telling me how you are. I'm going to slowly, with one finger, type Shovel Knight amiibo into Amazon and tell you.
Yeah, in response.
Oh, they've got a couple. Both currently unavailable. There's a gold one, which is quite cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Oh, that's a shame. I could get myself an amiibo, the Legend of Zelda Link Pixel, for £14.62 as
the big fat
as an
blocky
alternative.
One.
Yeah. So that's not happening.
But you could grow out of them like I didn't do.
Did you get the Yoshi one? I quite like that one.
Oh, like the yarn sort of one. No, I didn't get that. That was a cool idea, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry.
They've the fact that they redid loads of them in the last 2 months or whatever it was wild. Like, I thought nobody gave a shit about that, especially them. But
they must do.
They've just tanked the value of all those dickheads who were like hoarding them and scalping them just by like re-releasing every single one of them. It's hilarious. How am I?
That's a cool amiibo though. Like I always like the idea of amiibo, and then I end up wasting my money on other things. However, if I was to have a curated selection of amiibo, that is one that would definitely make the list.
Yes,
that one, Banjo-Kazooie, would certainly make the list. There's a couple of Link ones I quite like. In fact, I like the one you got me, which is behind me over my shoulder. And
the Link one, yeah. Even though he's got a big like sort of tower of piss coming out of his arm or whatever.
Yeah, he does. It's going straight into his knee. A couple good Mario ones. I like that yarn Yoshi one. I wouldn't be buying any of the. Well, until I play Fire Emblem, I wouldn't be buying any of the millions of Fire Emblem ones there were. But
there are millions of Fire Emblem ones.
I'm scared that once I play that game, that might send me down a hole I don't want to. I don't want to get into, and then once I get into it, I maybe won't want to get out, which is the thing that scares me about it.
Some good Bayonetta ones, some really good Samus ones, and some. I've got one of just like an actual Metroid on a tank of something. I've got loads of good ones. They were great when they came out. I loved them.
And now you must still love them.
Well, I haven't got rid of them, yeah. Unlike my friend Simon, who sold all of his for like 400 quid. But I reminded him he definitely paid more than that because he had more than 40 and they're more than a tenner.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, he did then. Okay, I was going to say.
Didn't even make a profit.
Yeah, he's fucked that.
Yeah, he has absolutely ballsed it. Speaking of fucked that, yeah, you asked me how I was. I had a really weird day of intaking media. So I made the very unwise decision during my lunch break at work to watch an episode of Baby Reindeer that involved basically a man being roofied and raped up the arsehole.
Lovely.
Definitely NSFW. Don't know what I was playing out there.
Yeah, so I had that, like the name Baby Reindeer had sort of made it onto my radar, but in someone's, I think I'd heard saying it was brutal, and then I hadn't paid any attention to it whatsoever beyond that.
Yeah, brutal in it's just fucking grim. Like, it's just about a dude who gets this female stalker that apparently which is apparently a true story, not based on, but a true story, that was the story of the man who wrote, directed, and starred in it. This was apparently actually happened to him.
Imagine directing those scenes, my God.
And imagine reacting yourself getting raped by a man who pretended to be wanting to help your career and just kept giving you more and more ridiculous drugs and then just like doing horrible stuff to you when you were passed out.
That's wild. There was so what's the women then? I remember I opened up a newspaper one morning and it was like the real women of Baby Reindeer exposed. So what's it got to do with that?
Yeah, she got like found out within right. So apparently the guy who wrote it said like, well, me and the showrunners, we tried really hard to like make it so that like her identity is really like withheld, and it'll be really difficult to figure out that that's who I was talking about. You know, from just looking at it, she wouldn't even recognize herself or something. And then she went on Piers Morgan because people found her in like 5 minutes and started sending her death threats and shit. So she went on Piers Morgan. She was, I don't actually know. I haven't finished watching it, but she claimed in the show so far that she's a lawyer, and I think the real person was a lawyer at some point.
Right.
What's funny is, number one, like, I'm assuming that this guy has only ever been stalked by one person. So once you see once you see a show on Netflix about a comedian who had a stalker, and you were that stalker, I think you'd know that that's who it was talking about. And then secondly, like, the woman and the actress look so similar and sound so similar. The casting is really on point,
guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I found it so funny when I saw this woman.
Superman, he's got glasses on. No idea who he'd be.
It's not like they changed anything about it. Like, make it totally different looking, but when they bring her on and she looks the same, she's also Scottish, she's got the same haircut, same job, like, they didn't hide shit. But yeah, that is a horrific television show that I can't stop watching. Yeah. It's only 7 episodes, they're only about 40 minutes each. I just can't stop.
I am still slowly, like, really slowly picking my way through Fallout.
Oh yeah, that's too slow. Hurry up, about that.
And I went back to, after like a 2-year hiatus. What's it called?
I was very impressed to see you're watching the X-Files. That's something I've never watched, but when I saw you put about that on Twitter, I was very proud of you. I thought, oh, what a cool thing to have just decided to. What made you want to watch that?
I've got no idea. I think I was just so, like, I'm like a sneaky fan of Paramount Plus. I think it is like low key, really good. Like the stuff that's on it, and I had been watching the reason I subscribed to Paramount Plus in the first place was that that's where South Park moved, and I've been slowly watching my way through South Park. I'm up to the COVID years on that, by the way, so I'm nearly there. And
is it still? I haven't watched it since before COVID. I don't know if it's. I'm sure it's still pretty good. But...
Yeah, I still like it. I think it's probably cool to say that it's no longer good, but I think it's still great. They're obviously, like any kind of long-running TV show, there are ups and downs to it, but I think there's a decent standard to it. But so, like, I think I saw the X-Files. They just added the X-Files to Paramount Plus, and I was like, I've never watched that because it used to scare the life out of me as a kid. I used to, like, when I used to hear the X-Files music come on when I was a kid, I used to run to bed and just go to sleep because it scared me. So I was like, I'm going to watch it, and it is hilarious. It is both amazing and terrible in equal measure. But, like, it's because the quality isn't like neck snappingly inconsistent. So, like, 1 minute you're like watching an episode which is a clear riff on the movie The Thing, and I'm like, this is amazing, like having a great time watching it, and then the next one you're like, what is this absolute mess of a show? You see, like, Mulder's chasing like some sort of yeti through the streets of Chicago that no one's ever seen in thousands of years, but it's lived there the whole time. Then they just shoot it, and that's the end of the episode. So I'm enjoying it, but the quality is like, it gives you whiplash because 1 minute you're like, this is fantastic, and the next minute you're like, this is the worst TV show I've ever seen in my life. But
that reminds me of a TV show that I tried to watch for a bit, but it was very like that. Was it called Fringe? Hang on.
I need to stick with it. I'm trying to remember that show that I said I'd started watching because I bloody love it, and I don't know why I stopped.
Anna Torv was in it. That's how I find the name. Fringe, yeah, it's called Fringe.
Fringe.
Yeah, you might want to check that out. Okay, that was recommended to me back in the day by good our old mate John from uni. But it's
oh my god, who's John again? I've forgotten who he is.
Oh, he did stand-up comedy. John
Glasses, yes.
Yeah, Glasses, yeah. Synopsis. An FBI special agent, Olivia Dunham, must work together with a mad scientist and his son Peter to investigate various aspects of fringe science.
Oh, nice.
So again, that has like random sci-fi theme per episode and stuff. Yeah, it's got Lance Reddick in it because of course it does.
My problem is finding hours in the day to keep up
True.
with a TV show.
Yeah, I've been trying to finish off Better Call Saul in the final season, and I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon season 2.
Oh, did you? So I watched like 2 episodes of the first season of House of Dragon. I was like, I'm not feeling this, so I bounced because I was like, well, this is something I can tick off my list. I don't need to see.
It's a lot better.
Okay,
it's a lot better. Yeah, the end of that show feels like proper Game of Thrones by the time you finish it.
We went out to
really like
Brewdog one night for someone's birthday. No idea. And we got chatting to some randoms, and this guy that I was chatting to was claiming that House of Dragon was like the best TV show he had seen in years. And I was like, I don't see what you're seeing. But it gets better.
It's just slow burn at the beginning, yeah.
Okay.
It has that fucking thing that anything George R.R. Martin has done, but especially, the first season of Game of Thrones and this, where like you're just dropped in the middle of hundreds of years of lore. Yeah. And every fucking character's got a name that sounds like every other fucking character. So you're just like, what? And they all like start naming their kids after themselves. And it's just like, there's too many people with similar bloody names that I just can't follow who is who. And last night when before we started watching it, said to my wife, do you want me to send you like a YouTube recap video before you watch this? She was like, nah, I don't care. I was like, I think you will care. Once we start watching, like, it's going to annoy you if you don't know what the hell's going on. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll watch something. So I sent her like a 15-minute one. She's like, no, that's too long. Give me something shorter.
That's part of an episode.
So I sent her a 1-minute video. She watched that, and then as soon as we started, I must have paused it like 10 to 15 times for her to be like, wait, so who's that? And I was like, you said you wouldn't care, and I told you have to know what's going on. You can't not care about that.
Not in a show like that. That is the whole point of shows and like that is just getting lost in the lore, just sort of immersing yourself in it.
Absolutely. But that's worth sticking with for sure.
Okay, maybe go back to it then.
Yeah, because that.
But I'm going to finish Fallout first because I really like
that's
that
obviously
show.
That's better. But yeah, the House of the Dragon at least has a finished book. It's like a Hobbit, isn't it? Sort of book. So at least they ain't going to be able to go into business for themselves like they were on Game of Thrones.
I wonder if that's partly what burned me on it as well, because it
burned everybody because it was terrible.
Yeah, I was just so upset by that show because it went from being the best TV I had seen maybe ever to like, what is this mess? It did an X-Files on us, and it's really burned me as well because my friend Joe and another John, we speak about books quite a lot, and we're chatting about what we're reading, and Joel keeps recommended me this book called Something of the Wind by this guy called Rufus Rothfuss. That's a name you can only read, and
that's fantastic.
He has gone full George R.R. Martin. He's written this book that people absolutely loved, and it's like it's given him sort of stage fright to write the next one, and he just can't write it. And Joel keeps recommending this book. I was like, I am not starting a series that is not going to finish. Like, that's why it's like I am so burned on Game of Thrones now that I'm almost like, don't give me it until it's finished. I just don't want a book series until it's complete, because then I know.
Yeah, totally.
I'm here to talk about complete series because this is probably complete.
Clearly not. They're gonna go on forever with this.
They're gonna keep going. The package I got feels like a complete package.
Well, yes,
Shovel Knight treasure trove or what it's called.
Indeed. Well, I mean, all the elements that are in that treasure trove were initially just Kickstarter stretch goals that were met.
Really?
And it was just like, right, we're going to make
Kickstarter game, is it?
three expansions. Yeah, because the developers of Shovel Knight Yacht Club games, they were all previously, I think all of them, I could be wrong, but the vast majority, especially the ones that are mentioned on the excellent Blood, Sweat and Pixels by Jason Schreier, they were all working for Way Forward.
He's got a new one coming out later this
year. Excellent. What's it about?
Can't remember. I discovered it last week. You mentioned Blood, Sweat and Pixels, and I was like, I wonder, he's not had a book out for a while, and then I searched his name, and he does have a new one coming out this year.
Good stuff. Yeah, the last one was a bit depressing. I'd like it to be slightly a bit more upbeat than the one where he's talking about basically people losing their jobs in the games industry in every chapter.
It's been long enough that I feel like I could go back and
I reckon so.
Books.
But yeah, the guys at Way Forward
Sorry,
as
just
well.
to finish my.
Yeah, what's the book?
It's called Play Nice: The Rise, Fall, and Future of Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh,
might be interesting. They just Blizzard are such like an industry giant that make so many popular games that I don't care about playing.
But we did at one point.
We did.
Oh wait, no, hang on. Yeah, Blizzard. That's that was Overwatch, wasn't it? So
Overwatch.
Maybe I'll give it. I mean, I try. I rate his work enough to trust that.
I rate his work enough, and I'm interested in games enough that I will happily listen to it. Like I listened to it and probably read it. Like I listened to Sid Meier's autobiography, which is 90, which was bloody excellent, by the way, but is 90% of games that I have no idea what they are, because they're all like early, I don't know, Apple Commodore games. Yeah,
you probably still have that shared Steam library access to Sid Meier's Pirates that I bought ages ago for £1.25 and have never booted up, but really should.
Yeah, should. So that's a game I feel like you should at least have like some sort of opinion of, or understanding of, appreciation of is probably a better word.
Yeah. Oh right, yeah. But the guys from Yacht Club Games,
sorry, I derailed that.
Yeah. It's cool. No, I shouldn't have started on it until we knew the name of that book, because it was clearly going to drive us both mad if we didn't find it out. Way Forward, really prolific developer doing a lot of sort of side-scrolling platformers or action games. They did the Shantae series, and a game called Mighty Switch Force as well, which is awesome. It's like a crazy block switching puzzle platformer that is very, very difficult. But they also often did like a lot of reboots or updates, or like, carrying on their own style of game in existing franchises like Contra. They did Contra 4, they did Double Dragon Neon, they did that Aliens Infestation on the DS that I told you about a few months ago. They did The Boy and His Blob on the Wii, which was like an old NES title. They also did loads of licensed games. They did the Batman Brave and the Bold, which is like a beat 'em up. That they did that stuff like Barbie, Shrek, Looney Tunes, SpongeBob. But they all basically got fed up of it, so they decided they wanted to go and create their own studio. Apparently, they'd had some sort of like joke conversation about wanting to make an old style sort of NES platformer. I mean, the game wears its influences on its sleeve very much. They primarily they wanted to have the main move, so to speak, or gimmick of the character to be that downward sword thrust that they talk about being from Zelda 2.
Oh, really?
But also they do cite DuckTales as a influence.
Yeah, that's the influence I would have gone for.
Yeah, that's what I was, because who wants to think about Zelda 2 as being, positive in any way?
Yeah, exactly.
You give credit to that. But they also took inspiration from things like Castlevania 3, as I said, DuckTales, Mario 3, Mega Man.
I was going to say
Dark Souls, when you're dropping your stuff and go back and grab it, obviously.
See, when you were playing it, so to sort of give you an idea of where my thought process is going here, when I was playing this, I was like, this feels like I think I even texted this to you. This feels like almost like a 2024 Mega Man to me. Are there any particular influences that really jumped out at you? Obviously, like everything you've said, I can see now you've said them. Maybe wouldn't have picked them up on my own, whereas Mega Man really was something that was front and center for me.
Yeah, I guess. I suppose I could dive into more of where I think the inspirations are coming from as we go through the stages or whatever, because I have written little notes about things like that. But you've got the world map, which is very Mario 3 style, even including like the when you get the little mini boss fights where the little guys sort of like start like trampling around the map, and if you
even move around somewhere else. Yeah, that's a good point.
Castlevania is pretty obvious in like the aesthetic choices and the backgrounds and the weapon styles that you get feel like that. Mega Man, for obvious reasons of there's 8. Is there 8 bosses? I can't remember now, but there are bosses. You don't steal their powers.
No,
well, you do.
No.
You do get their powers in a kind of a roundabout way by buying the items or the relics or whatever they're called from that guy in the chest. Chester, I think.
For me, it was the ladders are exactly like, I was like, oh, I think I even went to text you, I being like climbing a ladder, and I was like, oh, this is the fucking Mega Man. And it's the way you transition from screen
I
to
was
screen.
just about to say it's the screen, the way the screen sort of drags
and when
itself.
you go back and forth, the enemies sort of resetting themselves, like, because obviously I assume in the NES days there just wasn't enough RAM to remember, so they just sort of started the.
Yeah, I suppose not. Actually, that's I don't know why that's made me think of this, but I've been meaning to make a point of whether it's good or not. I don't even know, but I really like the fact that they don't regenerate the enemies on Pikmin 4.
Oh, right, okay.
It really reduces the stress day to day when you want to go back to the same area and you're like, I don't want to fight that big crab again. It's not there because you've already killed it.
Man, you're doing the hard sell on me for this fucking game.
Yeah, sorry. Based on the fact that the enemies don't regenerate. How about
the way it's set? When you mentioned there was a dog, I was like, oh, maybe I should get into this.
Dog's fantastic. He's the goodest boy. That dog, Ochi. He's brilliant. That's a game changer. I don't know how people played Pikmin without a dog in it because he's so useful all the time.
I've never played a Pikmin game in my life.
I've played 3 for a little bit on Wii U and didn't really like it, and then didn't massively get grabbed by 4 until I thought. I don't even know what made me want to play it the other day. I think it's because I'd finished Shovel Knight, couldn't really be bothered to like burn myself out by playing every single DLC again, and thought, well, I don't want to start something massive. Because we've got, I don't know what we've got coming up, Resi or whatever, or Animal Well. Maybe I'll actually give Pikmin 4 a proper go. So I started it again because I'd only played for like 25 minutes apparently. Wow, that was a good old college try. And I lost like 2 or 3 days of just thinking about it and wanting to play it. Anyway, I don't know why I was talking about that, but yes, I think my original point before all of that was the part of what they wanted to do for Shovel Knight is do this whole I think one of the quotes that they say on the book is that they wanted to make a game where the game's name is the name of the character because they felt like games didn't really do that anymore. The way that Mega Man, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Bros.
I guess. Well, I don't know. I would need to sit and think.
Is anything usually other than platformers, right?
Yeah, I was about to say
Ratchet & Clank, Banjo, whatever.
When I stopped myself, the next sentence I was about to say that I don't know if that's true within the genre in which it is operating.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But then again, we are doing Shovel Knight because it's its 10th birthday.
Yeah, so there's been a lot since.
Yes, they were clearly very inspirational, but yeah, they wanted to merchandise the shit out of Shovel Knight and have him be this sort of almost 80s mascot hero that roams around the landscape, and they really did that.
I both love that, and that's incredibly cynical at the same time. I'm like fully torn by that statement you've just said. Like I can't decide.
Yeah. I mean, from what I gather from it, if giving them the benefit of the doubt, is that they harkened back to a time that they liked as kids, where you could buy Bart Simpson merch or Mario merch. You could get like Mario wallpaper and bed covers. I mean,
depending on their age, Transformers was literally made.
Well, yeah,
for that reason. Like it was just made for something that they made a cartoon so that they could create some toys to sell. Which again is massively cynical,
Turtles was
so maybe
the same as that, right? Turtles was a comic. Yeah, but I think they made the toys before they made the cartoon on that one as well.
G.I. Joe is another one example of that.
Yeah, I think He-Man as well.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the idea of like we want to build a new sort of big character in the game, because I mean, I guess as well, like in fairness to them, they were an indie developer who've left the comfort of their jobs. Like one of them got fired, one of the artists on the game, once Way Forward found out that like some of their people had already left to start Yacht Club. He was like moonlighting, talking to these guys, doing some art for them, and then once Way Forward realized, apparently they said like, "Are you going to leave?" And he said, "Well, eventually, yeah." And then they said, "Well, how about today be the day you leave?" And fired him. And his wife was pregnant as well. So, so yeah, they put they took a big chance. And I think if you want to think of a way to keep your development studio going rather than nickel and diming players within the game that you've made, you just decide that I want to make a really appealing character that people are going to like, and then we can make merchandising profit off of that. And he's been in so many games as well since then. They must have sold the license to him for so many. He's in Bloodstained, apparently. I don't remember when he was in Bloodstained.
No, Yeah, like I say, like I'm not necessarily against the idea because I am such
Yeah.
a mug. Like if you just need to look over, if you're watching the YouTube video, look over my shoulder and I'm like surrounded by merch. Like
Yeah.
I'm for it. Yeah, just sort of when you said that, I was just Garfield is another example of someone that was made just to try and merchandise. Like I think the guy that created Garfield was like, I want to try and create, because he was a marketing dude, and he was like, I want to try and create the most marketable like character I can, so that basically we can try, so that he could like license it out over and over again, and just try and make money from creating a sort of marketable character, which so he ended up with Garfield.
Well, they actually said on the Blood, Sweat, and Pixels as well that he was easy to draw, which was, I guess, something they. So that I guess that feeds into that of like, well, he's really easy to replicate, and we can just like easily crank out stuff of him, and you can fit into, because the list of games, you go on the Wikipedia page, the list of games that he's appeared in is there's fucking so many. So because I guess it's a style and an art that people can take quite easily and just transpose it into whatever their game is. So that sounds like something similar to what Garfield.
It is cool, and like I said before, I would buy an amiibo. When I start, it's the best thing to do here is not think about it, because when I start thinking about these sort of things, it's a fine line between buying something because you're celebrating and being excited about a character or a product, and sort of feeling like you're taken advantage of. And I just think that the games industry over the last 10 years has, I was going to say strayed, but it is full blown stomped into the take advantage of its fans category. So yeah, it's just when you said that sentence, I was like, oh, not sure I like that. However, let's be realistic here. We're talking about Yacht Club Games, which is a small company that has created a character that is, for all intents and purposes, absolutely fantastic, and they seem to have merchandised it in a way that's interesting and fun. Like I said,
it's thoroughly like 90s Saturday morning cartoon merchandising rather than live service games with microtransactions in it. They haven't infested what we love with bullshit. They've just added loads of stuff around, like they've transmediated Shovel Knight,
which is what we're all about. Yeah,
like back in the day that we all remember and love.
They're not going like full Disney, which has made me actively hate Marvel at this point. It's
so uncool now, isn't it, Marvel? Yeah. But they just keep going. And my dad keeps being like, I'm watching the new. Well, he keeps telling me he's watching the new Star Wars. He's watching some.
Oh, apparently there's a new show came out. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently loads of people went and review bombed the wrong one on Tomatoes or something, because it's like there's one from like the 70s or something that they went and banged. Fans. Okay, is that what fans of things do? Is it you just go and destroy part of your fandom
just to watch it, move on with your life? What a waste of effort.
Yeah, but yeah, man, Marvel, good lord.
Sorry, I am badly derailing this podcast. Carry on. We're talking about Shovel Knight. He's easy to draw.
I think they needed they asked for $75,000. I love the fact that when you have a Kickstarter, like it just never goes away, so you can always just go back and look.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they needed $75,000 and they made $311,502. So they had like just shitloads of stretch goals that they went on and on and did. And like I say, some of those were the additional 3 games, which they went on and made. And
that's really good.
And I love the fact that they said like we wanted to make a Nintendo game because we grew up playing Nintendo games, and then the game basically released on 3DS and Wii U, and not nothing else. But the anniversary we're talking about of its 10 years on 26th of June from 2014, that was just on Windows, 3DS, and Wii U. And I have it on both 3DS and Wii U, and they are, especially Wii U, is a great way to play it because all your inventory screens on the touch screen, so you can just change on the fly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's really helpful because I mean, you can pause the game and do it in the one we played, but or use the shoulder buttons. But I need that moment to figure out what I actually want to use. I think the fact that you needed that as well meant you didn't do it as you didn't really what's the word? Kind of experiment with his full arsenal. Did we talk about this on a different? Did we talk about this on the Prince of Persia, where you find a play style that you'd like that suits you?
Yeah, I do that in all games.
Very much. This was felt like when I watched you, it was I've got the name of it here. Hang on. It was the
It's that necklace.
phase locket.
Yes.
The phase locket that makes you briefly invincible, which to be fair is a fucking awesome power up.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that. I never felt there was a couple times I felt the need to like use that fire wand and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, which was daft because it wasn't until I was speaking to you when I was near the end, you were like, use this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what the game wants me to do. Whereas I was just phasing every opportunity. Like if I thought I was going to die, phase, get out of the way, or use it to get into a better position again.
Or to almost like sequence break the.
I can't believe I did that.
You're on those torpedoes underwater and you just jumped and hit the walls and then use the phase to not die and did like a whole route of it, which is an unbelievable skill when all you had to do was stand there and press the one button and do nothing else.
It was such an easy part of the game that I just made so difficult for myself. I noticed as well that the mana when I was doing that, I had none left to do anymore, so I did it in the exact.
Oh wow!
I didn't notice that at the time until
of your mana.
Yeah.
Shit. But yes, as I said, is it quite impressive actually that they announced the Kickstarter on in 17th of March 2013. Smashed the goal, met all the stretch goals. They were in stuff like 4-player battle mode, mission-based challenges, body swap mode, which you were asking about the other day. I don't know what that does either, but that's a Kickstarter stretch goal apparently. An additional playable story campaigns for 3 boss characters, which they obviously have now done. And the only other bit of trivia I have got around the development is that obviously the soundtrack is a banger. It was composed mostly by a guy called Jake Kaufman, but there were 2 contributions by Mega Man composer Manami Matsumae.
Oh, fantastic!
Pretty fucking sweet that they managed to get that in as well. Before we jump into, I thought we would go through the main levels one at a time, just to talk about them and the bosses. But let's have some general thoughts from you, because you had never finished the game before this play session, had you?
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I've certainly have played it before, and I was trying to remember.
Where do you think you own it? What platform do you think you have it on?
I think I had it on Vita.
Oh yeah, they did port it to Vita, didn't they? Yeah.
Because you're right, I don't have it on anything else. So it was either that or maybe I have it on PlayStation and I haven't booted up my PlayStation. But yeah, the thing that made me interested is, because I think I texted this to you before, is that when I was playing it the first time, so I was very much aware of when you reach the checkpoint, you can either use a checkpoint as a checkpoint, or if you think you're fancy and you're going to get further, you can roll the dice and bust up your checkpoint, get loads of money, and carry on without the checkpoint. I knew that was a thing, but I don't have any memory of the game this time round when I was playing it on PC telling me that. So then that reminded me, I was like, oh, I have played this before, but I don't know where I've absorbed that information, which makes me wonder if they've added in tutorials since. I'm not sure. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, sorry, go on. Well, I was going to say, actually, on the tutorial front, no, you finish, because we'll talk about level in a minute, because I think that's a great tutorial level. But yeah,
overall thoughts of the game, I played that first level and I was like, oh, this is something that I have been needing in my gaming life. You know, like every so often you're playing a game, either you might be in a rut, you might not be in a rut, you might just be chugging along playing games from time to time, and then all of a sudden you play something and you're like, yes, that was kind of what I got with this game. I was like, I am in the mood for this type of game, and I didn't realize I was, and I just loved it. I think I text you as well about this. Is like when I started playing the game, like I found the difficulty curve steep. Like when I started, I was real bad at it. I was like, there's a couple bits even just with the platforming is quite tricky at the start. I was missing platforming, and by the end of it, I was just like smashing through stuff that would have killed me before. It was just funny how I was like die, struggle, and then it just all of a sudden clicked, and I was just off.
Well, you said that you said when you stopped, I assume that was on the Steam Deck at first. You said when you put it on a big TV with a proper controller, you were totally yeah. Which is interesting, because I have it on the 3DS, and I don't know if I've ever managed to finish that version of it, because I think I remember finding that 3DS D-pad was not conducive to bouncing around accurately.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just my my sort of lifelong inability to properly get into handhelds as like a mainline system, or like see in by proxy, it's taken until we started doing this podcast for me to see sort of handheld games as not proper games, but complete games in their own right, because it's a very specific game that I can play in a handheld, and it's ones that doesn't take sort of Twitch reactions. I mean, Balatro, for example, I've played that almost exclusively on my Steam Deck. So like sort of that sort of game, turn-based stuff works really well, but this sort of the Twitch stuff I find quite difficult on a handheld. Don't know whether that's just me, but something about having your screen as part of your controller when you're maybe moving it about is maybe not quite so easy. But I was significantly better at the game once I put it on a proper screen and enjoyed it far more.
I didn't have time to go back and listen to it, but I would hope I mentioned this. I would hope, in fact, that the entire reason we're playing this, other than its anniversary, but that would have been why I brought it up, is because I mentioned this game in our top 2D platformer one after we did Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Almost certainly. That's probably how
I'd be very upset with myself if I didn't say that this was in my top 5 or whatever of all time, because I'm obviously wearing all the merch. I even have a little tattoo of Shovel Knight on my arm. I'm a massive fan of this game. This came along at a time when we weren't like oversaturated, and the market wasn't like overly prevalent with chiptune pixel art platformers, Metroidvanias, all this kind of stuff. This was like one of the probably why they were so desperate to make something like this. Wouldn't it be cool if someone did that? And then the rush of them all came in with the Kickstarters piping up, and the rise of indie games again. Certainly on things like Vita and 3DS. So this was like everything that I loved in a game. It was, DuckTales, it was Mega Man, it was Castlevania, it was Zelda, it was
I guess you're right.
Dark Souls. Like I was so up for it.
Given all those games that we just listed in terms of inspirations, could not have been anything other than an Alex game, could it?
Yeah, it had Alex written all over it. Okay, let's talk about the levels. So
let's do it.
Talking about tutorials earlier, the Plains of Passage, which is obviously the first level of the game, but doesn't have a set boss from the, what the fuck are they called in that? The thing that the Enchantress makes. The Order of No Quarter. No, he's not a member of that, because you end up fighting the Black Knight at the end of it, don't you? And he's more of a sort of a sympathetic.
I don't really understand the Black Knight, because I got to the point where I was skipping through cutscenes, and then all of a sudden he helps me at the end, and I was like, I don't know what's happened here.
Does it say?
So do you know, or did you also start skipping?
The plot is 2 paragraphs on Wikipedia, so let's just quickly. So it starts off the opening cutscene. It shows you that Shovel Knight and his partner Shield Knight, they're like these adventurers, heroes, whatever you want to call them, that sort of roam the land, keeping it safe. But they go and explore the Tower of Fate, and this amulet curses Shield Knight, and then seals the tower off, and Shovel Knight is stranded outside. So he obviously thinks she's dead, goes off, gives up adventuring, goes off into exile. But then while he's away, and then there's no heroes around anymore, the Enchantress rises to power, spreads evil around. He obviously hears about this, and that she's unsealed the Tower of Fate where Shield Knight was trapped before. He decides to travel back to try and rescue her. Then he obviously goes through this Order of No Quarter, which is a group of knights that the Enchantress has collected together in this sort of evil cabal of bastards, that you yourself you establish that and bring them all together in the Spectre of Torment game, because you are Spectre Knight, and you're basically fighting all the bosses again to recruit them to this to this Order of No Quarter.
Because I thought it seemed like they knew Shovel Knight.
They do seem to. Well, if he's this renowned hero, I guess they do. They probably all hate him.
Yeah,
because they've all joined up with this evil woman to take him down or whatever, or to just do general evil. But it says along his journey he battles with his old rival the Black Knight. After he defeats him for a final time at the outskirts of the tower, Black Knight reveals the enchantress is actually Shield Knight, possessed by an evil spirit that inhabits the amulet. So,
I never picked that up at any point. Oops.
yeah, Shovel Knight like goes at the tower, beats
Shield
all
Knight
of the
fights the
bosses.
enchantress at the end. So what's she fighting herself?
So that's the evil spirit that's possessed her. That he exercises that
that's
from.
right. Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Then
so
it
you fight
becomes
her,
all
then there's
massive.
the after boss, which is where she pops up.
That's it. Yeah, and then Shield Knight is there to quote unquote help you by not having her shield up enough so that you can bounce on it and hit her in the head.
Yeah,
but she tries every now and then. She will do that for you, but she also blocks like those walls of fire, doesn't she? And then I think that second phase is apparently called the Remnant of Fate, by the way.
Okay.
Then Shield Knight holds back the Remnant of Fate while this tower collapses after you've defeated her, and the Black Knight like carries Shovel Knight out because Shield Knight tells him to. I gather from the dialogue that he's obviously in love with her or some shit. But then she escapes at the end anyway, and she goes and lies to Shovel Knight while he's asleep at his campfire in those lovely little after level scenes where you get to dig up your fire and get a bit of jewels.
Yep.
Sometimes catching her in a dream state. But yes, the first stage, the Plains of Passage, for me, it's one of those like obviously Nintendo were massive on doing this because they were developing their earlier games in an era where they didn't fill the screens with text or anything like that, or have voiceovers. Somewhat the same as Dark Souls, although Dark Souls does have the written on screen sort of tutorials if you choose to look at them. Or rather, it sometimes has like messages on the floor, doesn't it? You can like walk up and read a message or say, use this button to whatever. But if you think back to the first stage of Shovel Knight, there's no instruction there whatsoever. So it's showing you sort of obstacles and forcing you to go through them to make you just understand the powers and abilities. And it never actually explicitly tells you what to do. You've got like, I think you start off, you see all the piles of the rocks and that you hit to make the gems come out. You've got enemies that you can flip over, and then obviously you can bounce on those diggable walls that block you off. So you have to hit them to dig through them. Or sometimes below you that you have to bounce on them to get through, showing you that you've got that bubble that floats up over a gap. So you have to bounce on the bubble to show that you can use that to sort of platform around. You've got the skeleton enemies with the skulls next to them all around on the ground. You can hit them at him to do damage, showing you can you can have style attacks by hitting things. Those breakable walls that have the little mark. There's one stage where it's got like a little mark on that wall. You have to hit that. You can't progress until you hit it. But there's a wall at the top that doesn't have the little mark on it that you see, because I guess that's trying to teach you as well that many walls can be broken. Well, we won't show you explicitly that this is a breakable one, so just experiment by hitting shit. And obviously the first breakable wall takes you to a secret area where you get like the musical note parchment. So just really, really brilliantly done. Not too challenging. It just teaches you all of or forces you to learn everything that you need to know in that very first level.
Yeah, I would even say that big dragon that you encounter in the first level sort of teaches you to bounce on enemies as well as use the bubbles to get up high to also bounce in his head.
Totally.
Yeah, I think
and how you can just kind of stay in one space because he doesn't even move, does he? He's asleep. So yeah.
And there's one later on where the game really does you like that. I know it's not quite a tutorial, but it starts introducing dragons within areas that have got gaps in the floor. In the you've got to bounce on obviously specific parts of that dragon, and when it dies, you've got to make sure his head's very often above a gap, so it'll just do you. Did you ever get caught by that? I got caught by that a couple of times.
I kept thinking I was going to get done after a boss fight, or worrying because I thought I'm definitely landing on the gap here, but they don't seem to care. That's at that point the floor just becomes normal again.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. The whole level is sort of a masterclass in show don't tell.
Yes,
and I love how. I mean, understandably so, because games are expensive to make, and we want people to play games and stuff like that. And this is harkening back to an era that was still had its sort of feet/roots very much in the arcade era of like the coin operated. Stick a quid in to get your extra life and stuff like that. So like I understand how we've kind of got to the stage we're at, but I do think like a lot of games, even to this day, could look at it and show that you don't need to tell your player everything. People are intelligent and can work things out if you show them in the correct way. I mean, Dark Souls is another example of that. A game tells you nothing, but people sit and work out how to do it. And actually, when you break down, and again, it's as you mentioned, this is a homage in some ways to a Dark Souls game. So like, it's perhaps unsurprising, but both those games are very, very good at sort of forcing. I don't know. Like, there's a certain amount in this game of you need to be able to do this to progress, and if you can't do it, we're not going to let you to progress, which is very Dark Souls. And I think a lot of people may find that the people that don't like Dark Souls may find that frustrating about Dark Souls games. But I found that in Shovel Knight's instance, it was, and again in Souls as well. I know I'm making a mess of this, but I think my point's quite coherent in that if you don't master this, there's no point in you carrying on, because the game is going to throw a lot of this at you. You need to be able to sort of bounce on your shovel. You need to be able to bounce across on bubbles and things like that, because that's what this game is.
You obviously did find other ways to figure out some of the
apparently,
yeah. But in the main, yes, the core mechanics of the character, which you can watch shovel only runs where people don't use any of the relics and stuff, and you can the game is very, very beatable with just the standard shovel and bouncing. So
again, which is another thing that I liked about it. Like you said, it's both a good and a bad thing, I guess, in that like I settle into a way of play that works for me. And the game, in 99% of that game, was perfectly playable in the way that I decided to play it. Whereas if you sort of explore the other powers, the game's probably rewarding.
They seem to ways. They seem to limit like forced use of the relics that because you get the relics in every level, don't you? You can buy them off Chester if you have the money for it. If not, you can go back and buy it in the village. But I think. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure every time you kind of could utilize this new power that you got in the level, it was to get a secret. It wasn't.
Yeah.
That's how you can progress. Or it was one of those special levels.
Yeah, you're right. It was like you go into one of those special sort of challenge rooms that I really enjoyed. Yeah. And in each challenge room, there would be this is the gimmick, and you've got to sort of master the gimmick to get to the end. And whatever that was. And and you're right. And very often it was, this is the new power to get to this, I don't know what, like music sheet or whatever. Or
that's typically where it was. Yeah.
You have to master this new power or sort of use it, and then you can go back to doing whatever you were doing before if you so wish. Or because we've made you use this power that hopefully you can see can be interesting, you might want to continue to mess about with it. I think it's a really, really smartly designed game.
Yes, especially in terms of, like you say, the allowing for the experimentation or finding out your favorite play style from all these different aspects. Some of them do seem slight. I think the most useless one I found was the what's it called? It's called the coin, because I didn't know how to fucking use that. I kept trying to chuck it down into the gaps where you could go fishing, expecting loads of money to come out instead.
What did you do with the coin?
You throw it and it will roll along the floor, and it will turn smaller enemies into gold.
Okay,
like rats. And
I obviously didn't mess with that, and I didn't really engage with the fishing rod very often either.
Oh yeah, it's the mobile gear. That's the one that I felt like was the most useless. The one that I feel like if I thought more about it, maybe it would have been useful to just make the game easier. But that's the one where you basically throw down that gear that's got a little platform on, stand on it, and you'll just move across. It will like move across.
I don't think I ever got that
stand
one.
On it.
I don't think I got that one.
Maybe you didn't have the money and didn't go back and buy it afterwards.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But again, that just felt like I got it, and there was a room where like, the musical note is over the other side of these spikes. Use your little thing to just sit, and you just sit on it. Very, very reminiscent of like the rust powers. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a rust gear or something. I can't remember. In Mega Man 3 and 4 and whatever, you got a little dog that he turns into like a rocket. Or
I need to go back and get those because I was thinking about like while I was waiting on you. I think I said this to you already, but I was waiting on you to record this podcast. I went and was I'm going to go mess about with Shovel Knight again. I started doing some of the other sort of games that I hadn't played yet, and I was like, my mood has passed for this, and I was getting frustrated. But actually, I think what I need to do is I need to go back, finish the Shovel Knight one like 100%, go and get all the notes, because I think what I was looking for is I've learned how to move about levels like Shovel Knight, and I was just looking for more of that. And obviously, the different knights that you control require different skill sets. Now, I just wasn't in the mood to start learning a new one, so maybe that's what I should go back, finish Shovel Knight 100%, because I'm not actually that far away. And then I can go have a break for a bit and then come back and then do the same thing with a different knight and just chug my way through it. I think that's the way I need to do this.
Yeah, I would do the King of Cards one, because from what I can remember, King Knight plays the most like Shovel Knight.
Okay.
Because you can kind of see it from the fight that you have with him. He has this little scepter and he kind of jumps around doing stuff. He's not quite the Black Knight, because obviously the Black Knight is basically just a reskin of Shovel Knight, because he does bouncing around moves as well, but he also fires some projectiles on top of it. But King Knight, if I remember rightly, he plays quite like Shovel Knight, but also there's the whole card element to it.
Okay. Yeah, I do need to go, because like I say, it's one of these, a bit like what I did at the start of the year after we played Alan Wake, is I went and just worked my way through all the Remedy games. I need to do that with Yacht Club games now, I think. Just because I'm so taken with Shovel Knight. It's such a, for what it is, I can't really think that it does much wrong. I was trying to think, like, I was about to say, I think it's almost the perfect game for what it's wanting to be. That's very high praise, and I just need to sit and think about whether I actually want to stand by that comment. But it's not far away. It is really not far away in terms of what it's wanting to do.
If you look at some of its inspiration, Shovel Knight is miles better than Castlevania 3 and fucking DuckTales. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
I think
so it's absolutely surpassed, and Zelda 2, it's absolutely surpassed a lot of its inspirations. Maybe not Mario 3 or the best of Mega Man, but maybe it is.
There's one or two unskippable sort of scenes that annoyed me. I wish it just let me skip those. Like there's I think I've 2 occasions where I've just had to sit and watch these pixelated vomit piles dance, and I was like, I don't want to watch you dance.
Oh, that one, when you keep talking to that woman in the back, that's quite funny. I saw you do that and get annoyed. I thought, that's annoying if you accidentally talk to her again, expecting to get something, but you just get nothing but a dance.
You get danced at, You've got to watch the first whale dance as well, the one that fills up your cup for you.
Thank God he never does it again, though.
Yeah.
She just gobs in your cup after that and gets on with it. That's a cool little mechanic as well, that you could fish for like filling that up in the level. I don't know if it's just something's happened on my end, but you seem to have gone a bit quiet. Is your recording volume still okay?
Well,
there you're back normal volume again. Yeah,
it seems okay. Let me know if it happens again. Okay. Maybe I went too
We've been having loads of problems on the fucking Hall of Fame show, where like Steve and Simon's Audacity will just turn itself down after like 2 minutes, and then they realize after 6 minutes. So I've got 4 minutes of basically
there is a bug,
inaudible silence.
Yeah, the thing I'm having is I'm going to need to buy a new mic arm or something, because this doesn't fit properly. It wobbles about.
Yeah, and it's quite noisy as well.
Yeah, I keep knocking it, and then when I knock it, I try and hold it to fix it, and then this is a touch for mute, and I've touched that a couple of times and muted myself. So I need to get one that just sits solid.
Yeah. Right. So that's the first level. Very enjoyable. Not, as I said, not too challenging. Pretty cool. Banger of a fucking song. Absolute banger.
I think that's my favorite one in the whole game.
Yeah, the main sort of
ones.
Yeah, agreed. It's just that's the one that is deservedly like what people would see as like the theme of the game.
I think so.
Though it's not the one that gets stuck in my head all the time, because that is the Treasure Knight's Iron Whale music, the underwater theme. I'm a sucker for a classic underwater theme where they make it sound like a bit wet. And
I've
had it in my head all day long as well. Just I just can't get it out of my head. Right, second level then is Pridemore Keep, which is the lair of King Knight, who we get to play as I said, in King of Cards. Gold everywhere. He's described as, I think, as a decadent dandy at some point by Shovel Knight. You get these little helicopter rat things in it that are quite funny. They don't really do a lot. They just kind of float me.
Yeah, you've just got to be they can be annoying if they come at you in the wrong sort of way, i.e. if you're not ready for them. Yeah, they can be a pain in the ass, but yeah, you're right.
They seem almost random in their play or in their movements, but sometimes I felt like you've definitely moved in a very nice row for me to bounce across this gap on or something. Like, cheers, boys, really appreciate that. You've got things like secret rotating walls where you stand on that, like there's a green wall with like a Shovel Knight silhouette thing on it, and you sort of stand on it and it turns into the background like sort of the old Doctor like Frankenstein movies where you've got like those bookcases that spin round. It kind of does that on him. Like cauldrons of lava that drop on you, hanging chandeliers swinging back and forward, and those books that you have to bounce on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you bounce. It's like an open, I don't know, like a spell book or something, and you bounce on it, and it makes.
I actually really enjoyed those bits.
platforms.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those platform sections because it's just like, it's essentially you've got to get through that platform quick.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess typically it'll probably put some of those cauldrons dropping lava on you in the middle of it to kind of make you have to think about how quickly you can run through it. The item you get in Pridemore Keep is the flare wand, as we said earlier, the one that shoots basically fireballs, which is really handy in the early game. Quite handy on this level because there's, as we said, there's dickheads flying about all over in your grill. You can just get them from a distance. And I think we talked about, or I certainly said to you while I was watching you on Twitch, when you were doing, I think it was when you were doing like the gauntlet of all the bosses at the end of the game, that King Knight is he's really shit. He just bounces about, which actually kind of helps you because he's bouncing. If you can sort of time your bounces with him, you can stay attacking him all the way through. Sometimes he does a big lunge at you, and he's got those big trumpets that shoot spiky confetti that very, very slowly comes down the top of the screen. But
I love that bit at the end though, when you go through the gauntlet, because it just shows you how much you've improved. I think I had to fight this boss the first time I ever fought him like 3 or 4 times, and then like when you get to the end, he's just dead before he's even like started really, and you're like, oh, I have got better at this game.
Yeah, exactly. And beating them, I'll never get tired of the slow-mo where you get the slow-mo knockout, you know, the finishing blow on the guy. He's just sort of sprawled across the floor, flying backwards before he hits the floor, while you slowly land probably with your shovel below you.
Almost certainly.
Okay level. I mean, it looks very yellow.
It's yellow.
It's got cool mechanics.
In the same way that, so one thing that jumped out at me in this game is that I'm remembering now when thinking about this level is we spoke about this when we did the Streets of Rage podcast, and that I'm such a fan of like a pixelated skybox. Is that the right word? Like background?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the backgrounds in this game are very, very good, and I like the purpley clouds in this one. The other one I like, and when we get to it, is the one that's like green poisoned rain. It's like it must be the Plague Knight area. We'll get to it, and I'll remind you when we get there.
Might be Spectronite. It might be the next one,
and it messes about. What's the area called? Is it called Iron Whale?
That's the one that's underground. Yeah.
Let's have a look, because it's almost like it's raining, and it starts using like the color in a different way. Could be.
Let me send you this. Actually, this will probably help.
Oh, that's the underwater lad.
There you go. There's if you hit that link in the Discord, there's the stages.
That's better than what I had.
If you scroll down,
there's enough shitey IGN.
Oh yeah, fucking them assholes.
Yeah. So what are we?
I think you're talking about the Lich Yard. It doesn't actually have any fucking pictures of it, but
could be.
Hold on.
What I'll do, actually, this is useful. What I'll do is I'll use that to search the level name so that I can remind myself of it when I see it.
Yeah, there you go. What the fuck? No, ignore that. That's what I watched today at work to make these notes. It'd be good if he's got
he does
some chapters for each of them. He does.
Yeah, he does. 24, 22. Why is it? It's in a weird order. Like, how's he done that? Oh no, this is just a part. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so he's got all the. Just click on the timestamps, isn't he?
I think might be it. It's doing the dark thing that I liked, but it's like bright green as you're moving through, and it's dark. Oh, I don't know.
No, it's not that one then.
No,
Maybe
but
it's
this
a
is
different
another one. Anyway, so I've derailed it again. Apologies.
Yeah, Lich Yard. Is that what I just called it?
Yeah, that is the next one after Primer Keep.
Yes, that reminds me a lot visually.
Another good background.
Yeah, that reminds me of Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is...
Oh, that's a good shout. Yeah, when you're sort of getting outside of the castle itself and it's got all that red stuff in the background, red and
it's
blue.
like, I think it sort of starts off like on fire, that you're in sort of burning town at the beginning of that game.
Yeah.
But then you also have a boss fight like right at the end of the first stage where it's got all this like purple sky and there's a castle in the background and the boss like flies around. That really reminds me of this level. Brickwork interiors as well. It's all very similar to that. I like the. Right, I also like the
Castlevania looking level, isn't it?
It is. I really like the aesthetics of that big skeleton with his lantern.
I'm a big fan of him. He was fun.
Yeah, he is fun. This is a level that I think I probably got mistaken when you were talking about the rain, where this was the one where it like messes around with darkness quite a lot, where it will like black out.
Really fun.
You can't see the platforms. And then lightning will strike and you can see them again briefly.
Yeah, and you can see like enemies moving about on them and stuff. Yeah, it's really, really smartly done.
Yeah, like they're against the background, but the platforms are like covered up by clouds and stuff. Like, yeah, really cleverly done. This also has some of those elements where you've got those sinking platforms and you've got to kind of weigh them down. You've got those lads with like big sort of golden helmets that they're really sort of tall, like almost like a Pope's hat made of gold.
Yeah,
and you kill them, and then all you're left with is their head with that hat on, and that will still weigh down the platform. And you have to kind of get off. Or hit them off.
Well, I don't know if it's in this level or later levels, because I certainly remember when it's on the platforms that go down, it starts. Is it maybe the platforms where you've got to hit them, and it's like a fountain platform? You know those weird things.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
They almost make it into a puzzle in that where you've got to be moving the helmets around to the right place.
Yep.
To make sure
because sometimes you have to bait him onto it, be able to because otherwise it just won't move and you can't get this is the level where you get the phase locket that we were talking about earlier, where you can go
favorite move.
Yeah, this level has a banger of a song as well. It starts off really spooky and quite slow, but it has this bit where it just goes really upbeat and inspiring, where it's like da 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 da. That's great, a really good song. And then the final boss, Spectre Knight, who again is one you get to play as later on in one of the other games. In my mind, the most fun of well, at least of the first two, he's more fun to play as than Plague Knight, in my opinion. His boss fight feels very pre-Symphony of the Night Castlevania, like Castlevania 4, Rondo of Blood. It gives you a couple of platforms stuck right in the middle for absolutely no reason to jump around on. He just sort of floats about the screen quite a lot, chucking a big projectile at you. Sometimes lunges at you, sometimes turns the light off again.
He was one again. I think when I first fought him, I died until I realized it. Like I find a lot, and maybe this is wrong, but I find a lot of the enemies in Shovel Knight reward aggression. So basically, you just get right in their face, get right up in their grills. I found this guy was really easy if you just let him come to you.
You had that epiphany in the gauntlet at the end again. Yeah. I remember you actually sort of sounding that out as you were playing, that this is easier actually if I just sort of stay away from him while he's doing all his floaty bollocks. Yeah, he goes from being someone who's a little bit tricksy, who you've got to at least be aware of, to someone that is quite trivial once you realise that, if you let him be the aggressive one, he takes it. He just absolutely eats shit on you. He does eat shit. But that's a cool. It's definitely an aesthetically brilliant level. It's one of my favorites to look at for sure, as you said, with the Castlevania style backgrounds.
They're all good in their own way as well. I think just about every level is fantastically designed, and each individual knight is incredibly unique and sort of in fitting with whatever theme they're doing.
Yeah, I really love the design of the boss characters for sure.
The Underwater Knight's really good, like in terms of sort of like design and how he looks. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, very Big Daddy Bioshock derivative, but I like that. That was the style at the time. Yes. We were all up for that kind of thing. Big dude in a big diving suit. His level is actually the next one anyway. Those underwater physics where you have these like enormous jumping arcs, but then really slow drops is so Mega Man. They fucking love a bit of that underwater, where all of a sudden you can jump really, really high, but very, very slowly. But of course, again, like Mega Man, they chuck spikes everywhere to catch you out with this now bigger jumping arc that you've got to figure out.
You're right how Bioshock this is. Like the whole level design is very Bioshock. So Bioshock tinged with like early Sonic on the Mega Drive. I don't know if that's fair. Like, one of my favorite sort of enemies to mess about with is in this level. I love those.
Oh yes, I was just about to say about that. God,
those shells that when you jump on it, they go into their shell and you just sort of shovel their shell and it just goes like ping ponging across the level. It just takes out everything it touches. I absolutely love those things.
It just annihilates everybody and all of this, like the breakable bits of the scenery. It's great fun. What else did I have notes wise for this level? Oh yeah, I quite like how those tentacle enemies, I believe they're called graps. They were quite fun because they sort of set them up and you've got to bounce your shovel across all of these pink things that come flying out. There's lots of
you're right. Yeah.
Jumping on torpedoes, which was the bit we talked about earlier, where you're riding this one torpedo through these breakable walls that keep getting anywhere. You just got to time. But David was jumping off and using his invincibility to then just carry on floating through each one. It's brilliant. It was so good.
Everybody that wants to play a new game needs an Alex to then just stream it and they'll just remind you of how stupid you're being every so often.
It must be annoying as well, but yeah, I sit there watching all like the unique ways that you're doing it and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But maybe he doesn't remember that he's got, I don't know, exit. Like, have you upgraded any of your armor yet? Because you're still wearing the blue one and you're about to do the final boss.
Yeah. I think what I did, so when I'm with the armor, I think the first I went to go and buy some armor and I think I read like the first 2 or something like that. And they were like, this is the positive and this is the negative. And I was like, I don't like either of these. So I was like, I don't want any of these negatives. So I'm just going to carry on with what I'm doing. And then played the whole game without even messing with what was a fun component of the game.
Yeah, because there's the gold one that is useless, but he does like a front flip, like in Mario 3, where you get when you've got the Starman invincibility, and he does like a little front flip. And there's the one where it's like, oh, you don't get knocked back by enemies, but it's harder to stop. I didn't end up trying that one on this playthrough, but I'd be interested to see what that feels like.
Yeah,
if that's actually as horrible as it sounds.
I always find like stuff like that on the face of it is a positive. It's like, oh, I can't get knocked back.
That's the worst part of all of these types of games, especially the Mega Man ones.
Absolutely, but I almost find sort of, like if you get the opportunity to remove that from your playstyle, you find that you've got used to dealing with it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So like when you take a hit, you react in a way that sort of will either offset or take into account the fact that you're going to get knocked back. And then it throws you off your rhythm in some way. I find that anyway.
Yeah, you'll probably get too cocky more than anything as well, like thinking you're invincible now.
Did you not say to me you had a bit of trouble with the anglerfish in this?
That was my next point I was going to make. Yes, the angler. He's called the Teethalon.
Yeah, he's a bit.
This is very
bugger.
Have you played Mega Man 2 yet? Have you played that one?
I've certainly played it.
And then
perhaps not finished it.
There's a boss mini boss very late on in Mega Man 2 on one of the Wily stages where you got this dragon that sort of flies like behind you as you're sort of trying to run away effectively from him and jump over all these obstacles on the way there. This boss reminds me of that as well, where you get the what looks like a treasure chest, but it's actually an angler on the end of an anglerfish's lure, and then you're just kind of having to run away from him as he smashes through the screen. He's firing fish at you. I kept trying to bounce on the treasure chest to keep up, but that's a lot harder than it. I'm making it a lot harder than it needs to be. I should have just tried to run away and jump around rather than just trying to constantly maintain a bounce on that treasure chest all the way through it. Like the entire.
Yeah, so you played it on hard mode. The enemy that I found really tricksy, and I never really satisfyingly find a way to deal with it other than just to run away whenever it appears, is the enemy that it's just a regular enemy that's got a shield and a sword, and if you try and bounce on his head, he sticks his shield up, so you just bounce on him. I found him really tough.
Yeah, they were always a dickhead. Them ones. Yeah, for sure. Because then you have to sort of try and drop down and hit him with the shield. Oh, hit him with the shovel while he's putting his shield upwards. But a lot of the time, he just react very quickly. Sometimes as well, they put those in there later on to try and sort of basically block you off, and they'll get more aggressive AI, and they'll sort of trying to push you off the end of a platform, and it's quite hard to push them back because they've always got their shield up. That felt very Dark Souls as well. That kind of behavior. You get the throwing anchor in this one, which is basically the axe from the Castlevania games. That it's just a projectile you can chuck up.
Useful in specific scenarios. It was good if you could see like I don't know what their names are, but the later in the game where you get like the ninja lads that are hiding in the walls and the ceilings.
Oh yeah,
they were good if you could see them coming, because there's a lot of platforming in areas that you just can't afford to be knocked back. I found they were good if you sort of got your eye, like, oh, there's one of those sneaky buggers, and you could just sort of knock him out before he started causing you shit.
Before they even drop down from the ceiling, yeah. If there's one thing an old style NES platformer likes, it's flying enemies that just come out of fucking nowhere when you're in the middle of a jumping arc to piss you off, or are really difficult to hit because you can't jump high enough to get them. They're just going to swoop down and be an arsehole. So yeah, anytime they want to give me an upward throwing projectile, I'm going to try and make the most of that. Treasure Knight, as we said earlier, basically a big daddy from BioShock. He's got an anchor on a hook that is in this big sort of arm cannon that he's got.
Yeah.
There's a Mega Man reference in a BioShock reference, I guess, there. He'll just sort of fire that into the sides of the arena and then zip towards it. He does fire a treasure chest at one point into the middle of the level or the screen, and then it'll try and sort of suck you into it. But while he does that, he's basically standing still, so you can just bounce on his head while he doesn't move and then kill him quite easily. One of my favorite visual designs for the bosses, as you said, but again, not a terribly difficult one. He's harder later on in the gauntlet, but in this part, he's still not too bad. In fact, none of the bosses are really that bad in this game.
It's funny. I did find that as well. That like I said, when I initially started playing this game, I was really struggling with bits of it, and then I sort of got into a groove with it, and I think I beat each boss maybe for at least like first time most of them. It's just because
you can top up your health, and you were going invincible a lot, I assume. So it helps you a lot in terms of dealing with that, and it would always put a checkpoint right in front of the
and you're right. Once you get like, I think I don't know how many of them you get overall, but I had 2 of those sort of cups by then.
I never got more than 2.
So basically you've got 3 full life stacks, and you get a lot of life pips at some point. So by the end of the game, you can just sort of brute force it if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, you pretty much can, which is that's great. That's I want that to be an option if I'm struggling or whatever. Yeah. The Explodatorium is the next one. That is Plague Knight's stage. This one starts off, it's sort of like something of an understated kind of weird lab. You've got these bookshelves, but they've got like bottles on them. But then it turns into like a sort of a test tube rave where you've got these massive neon speakers in the background.
Yeah, that I did get. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but like, there's the neon rave, and then there's this is the first time I can remember seeing the enemies that look like they should be in Pokemon. And I was just like, this doesn't fit in my brain how I'm expected. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up Shovel Knight. They like fly at you, and then when they get near you, they like open their mouth. They've got massive teeth.
The sort of grey things.
Yeah, they look like they should be Pokemon.
If you look at that stages thing that I sent you, it will tell you all the list of enemies that are on that stage. If you go to
so I can go
Auditorium.
Oh, this is a great thing.
Guess what they're going to be called.
They're called obstacle. Where are they?
I'll tell you what. There's a level called Macabre, and it's like that black raven with like the purple mist around it, and it just fucking flies in and drops some bullshit on you from above. That again, proper Mega Man style, just dickhead.
Where'd you get these enemies?
On the right hand side.
Oh,
in the
NPCs.
Like if you go to the Explodatorium and you scroll down, it'll have like enemies. Yeah, so under NPCs, you've got NPCs, bosses, enemies.
Ah, yeah, okay. Let's have a look. Macobs, let's open. That was the one you suggested, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
And
that's
I love
just
how
a crow.
they've got a GIF of it as well. Like, awesome.
Yeah. Let's see if I can figure it out by their names.
It's not going to be a blob.
Well, that's a beetle, so it's not one of those.
It's not going to be a rat sploder because they're the exploding
Could
rats.
it be fairies? Yeah, fairies. Yeah, they look like little Pokemon.
They do look like Pokemon, yeah. Vicious little fuckers.
Yeah, they were absolute sons of bitches. Nice. Glad, however, talking about how this got bits of Castlevania in it. Glad it doesn't have the Medusa heads in it. They were the bane of my life in Symphony of the Night.
And they're in Bloodstained as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
But yeah, the weird fucking test tube rave is.
Yeah, it's just odd. It was a cool visual. Sorry, that's what we're talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a cool visual, but it very different from everything else the game was doing. Again, reminded me of Bloodstained, in that, like, I think one of the things I said to you about Bloodstained is like nothing matches. That was a bit what this level was like. But I think I'm trying to watch through. I think this is a level that I loved the ending just before you get to the boss, where you sort of go outside the castle. The background's green. And then some of the platforms are also green.
There certainly is a lot of green on this level.
If you're colorblind, you are in trouble.
I can't see him going outside. There's a lot of those fire.
Yeah, I've made it to the fire
traps.
section.
Sort of like, they're just on a timer. They're spitting out fire at you. There's also
maybe not.
I like the little slimy Shovel Knight things. They're called Slimalacras.
Yeah, they're like slug versions of you.
And I like the mini boss in this one as well. It's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of dude, isn't it? He's called the Alchemeister.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in these cupboards just like throwing beakers of shit at you.
Yeah.
But then randomly turns into a Yeti and like starts slamming across the screen. Very easy to bounce on that guy as well. But yeah, that's a cool one. This is the one where you get the coin, which we didn't understand what to do. But yeah, you throw that into some enemies and it will turn them into gold. Other enemies, it bounces back off them if they've got armor on, but you can hit it with your shovel to kind of twat it at them again.
Oh, nice.
And then we fight Plague Knight. He's probably one of the trickier bosses because he bounces around he's quite agile. He's chucking shit out all the time at you. He makes those sort of purple beakers appear out of nowhere. And if one of his potions that he lobs hits those, then they all explode. You can bounce on them as well. But he's also taking parts of the floor away, kind of getting you stuck in holes, and he will jump above you and throw shit down at you. So yeah, I find him one of the harder, in inverted commas, harder normal bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Any more thoughts on that one?
No, it's just, like I say, big fan of this, as I am with most of them. I don't know whether this is true or not, but in my mind, this is where the enemies started being shite bags. So there's like the Pokemon guy, there's like the cauldron that was spitting stuff, and then there's also those like bird sort of Plague Knight minis that have got like cloaks over their head and they start firing stuff out at you. Those are it's just things became a bit more aggressive. Like, whereas up to this point in my head, this is probably an untrue assertion, so take it with a pinch of salt. Like, but a lot of the enemies where you could sort of plan your approach to them, whereas a lot of these things, when they appeared, that was it. You had to respond because they would come at you right away.
Yes. And
this is also the first time I can remember in Shovel Knight where Plague Knight starts messing around with the environment that you're in. So again, this might not be true. I might just be misremembering. But then there's like the test tubes that he sprouts that you can use to get height, and then he also starts blowing up the ground under your feet as well. So it changes a flat surface, which I think up to this point you had essentially done, apart from the platform that you were allowed with the guy with the big scythe. Spectre Knight, is that right? Whereas this one it changes like a flat ground into something that becomes an obstacle in its own right. It's easy to get. So if you're trying to dodge the bombs he's thrown at you, getting caught in the uneven ground and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think it ever goes as far as you fall through the bottom, but it certainly
I don't think so.
they make you sort of stuck in there, and you're trying to climb your way out. And he just won't let you out. Just throwing more shit down on top of you. Yeah.
It's just one more layer of sort of things to, again, like the smartness of the design of this game. It's just another layer of something that you've got to pay attention to.
Yep, definitely. Lost City is basically like an underground cave.
Oh, another enemy in the Lost City that was an absolute son of a bitch. It's like, I don't know what you call them, but they're the guys that they look like wizards. However, they've got like stone bulls tied to the front of them, and they just charge back and forth.
Yeah,
is that the right? Am I thinking the right level?
They come back later on as well in a different level. God, trying to figure out like which one is going to be the right one to click on from the list of enemies is just like almost impossible.
Sorry, I should do my own homework and check before I start opening my mouth.
What the hell is that? It's not going to be a birder. No, that was obviously not going to be that.
Yeah, we're into Mole Knight right now, aren't we?
Yeah, they're called Hopicles.
That's the ones.
Yeah, what the hell is that supposed to be?
Can't really decide.
But they've just got a big shield with like a bull's head.
Yeah, it's literally just like a bit of twine tied to their face.
Yeah.
Channels it's at this level. Like channels it's Inner Sonic as well, with the fish jumping out as you're trying to jump over the gaps.
Yep. There's quite a lot of auto scrolling in this level. Mario, as we all know, loves an auto scroller. There's the bits where you've got those beetles that go across the bottom of the screen with like a squishy green bit on them that you bounce off of, but you're obviously having to jump away from them, evacuate the beetle, so to speak, to then clear a path over, because you'd fall off otherwise. So you've got to jump away, make your way through some obstacles, and then jump back on again to try and catch up with it. And then after that, it does these got those explosive floors you've got to hit with your shovel, and then it will like a timer on it.
I was a big fan of those bits. It was just a cool. Again, this level does a lot of messing with the floors and sort of like environment. So I enjoyed because the exploding floors. There's parts of the level where you can't just explode stuff willy nilly or you'll kill yourself. You've got to like sit and work out which bits you can explode.
Because it sort of detonates block by block on it, almost like a timer. So you've got to make sure that it doesn't just immediately take the floor from under you.
Exactly. I think this is a level as well that has like the green bouncy stuff, so you can like eventually
you hit it into the lava to turn it.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Yeah, that reminded me of remember that one in Donkey Kong Country 2 where you've got those seals and you jump on their back and they turn the red water into swimmable water again.
Yeah, good shout.
This is the one where you get the dust knuckles, which is one of my favorite power-ups in the game because they can smash through stuff, but also they almost like home towards it. He sort of zips towards the nearest breakable surface, which can be quite fun in that level. Is that the Tower of Fate where I said, "Oh, get the knuckles out for this," because you can like basically like smash your way almost vertically, or at least at an angle, 45 degrees, to sort of fly up to the top of the level quickly. And then Mole Knight, as you said, that's the boss of this level, where
he just sort of sticks his arse in the air, I thought, and you just sort of jump in his ass for a little bit, and he's dead.
Yeah, he flies left to right, doesn't he? Kind of like flies out of the walls. He sort of digs into the ground, flies out the walls. Sometimes
that's true. There's a bit where he is just like flying from like left to right or right to left. That was a fun.
It's quite fun to try and time your downward thrust on him as he comes out of the walls, isn't it? There,
great fun. He's a fun boss. One that I didn't struggle too hard on. I think is probably my takeaway in that. Yeah,
he when he goes invincible and shoots fire around, that's fucking annoying.
True.
But yes, the bit where he digs into the floor, and then again, like this is more like Mario World, where you've got 4 different bits come, like 4 different burrowing holes come up on the ground, and you've got to try and find the one that he's actually in. Like I can't remember the name of the boss in Mario World, but one of them does something very similar to that. And if you dig the one that's got his face in it, you'll stun him, and he'll be stun locked standing there like a goon.
So when you see, because I don't think I ever got that correct once.
Yeah, there'll be 2 that are empty. One that's got his arse, I think, or one that's got his head. And if you hit the one with his head, you'll knock him out of the ground, and he'll sort of stand there dazed, and you can jump on him and basically like wreck him at that point. But yeah, it's a decent level with lots of, like I say, lots of auto scrolling in it.
Yeah,
so that
it's a fun, unique boss. It's
punishes
not, yeah,
mistakes.
you're right, and the boss
Good
is
boss,
unique.
yeah.
But they all are.
Yeah, good boss and a good, like I say, a good item that you get in that.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I've written the stranded ship, which is the obligatory ice level with a slippery floor. God, I love that. You've got like those wolves that sort of skid about, like they just fucking
yeah,
tear
you
at
can go at these in different orders, don't you? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got little Viking blokes who throw spears at you. And you've got the really weird mechanic in this one where there's sort of snow blocks that are levitating in the air or like suspended in the air. You jump at them and then you'll knock them down onto the spikes that
So that
they
was
then
really
cover
interesting,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it. But I think this level, which is something you brought up earlier, has one of the hardest elements in the game, where you've got this sort of fountain platform that you hit and it'll puke out rainbow, which is like a temporary platform. And
I did quite enjoy it. It's just hard.
I think it's brilliantly clever, but it's really hard because you've got to jump off of it to make it rise, and when you stand on it, it makes it fall, and you're trying to hit it forwards or backwards to make a path for yourself that doesn't last very long.
Your window of opportunity to move is so tight.
Yeah, they bring it back in the final stage as well, because the final stage we're not going to go through really, because it's basically just like do all the stuff you've learned in like a, it's going to split the stage up into elements from all of the previous levels.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of stuff that, like, I don't know, fire will be coming down from the ceiling and you've got to wait on a timer for it to finish, but you've also got to try and not die on the platform or not have the ground fall from underneath you. You get the war horn in this level, which is the one where it makes a massive sound wave that basically one shots any normal enemy in your way. I use that quite a lot towards the end because it's, like I say, it's just a one shot.
I don't think I got that.
Yeah,
it's not ringing a bell.
It puts like a circle of sound out, and anything that is in that circle will just immediately die. Not bosses, obviously. But if you're going to go back,
I'm certainly, I'm doing that this week. In fact,
I like Polar Knight. Again, I like his design. He's just a big Viking.
I like his design, and I like the sort of level design around him. I like, because this is the one that uses, like you mentioned it already, the snowflakes that drop down onto the spikes. You have to keep concentrating on the ground, because eventually you also, I bet there's a Donkey Kong level that is very similar to this actually. He keeps knocking out the floor from under you, so not only do you have to sort of set it up for yourself, but also it goes from being an obstacle, which I spoke about before, to being like an actually dangerous part of the game. Nicely layering up the things that you've got to pay attention to as you go through the game. Yeah, exactly.
It's I just love the fact that you've got a shovel, so he's got a snow shovel because he lives in the snow. I thought that's quite fun.
Yeah,
and he like rolls those big snowballs at you,
which you can bounce on.
Yeah, and if you've got that armor that I made you buy at the end, where you do 2 consecutive bounces and then you get a free charge attack at the end of it, that was really helpful on this level, because if you bounced on 2 snowballs, the next hit you get him is going to take off a good chunk.
Yeah, that would have made life so much easier.
Like I said, you melt these by the end of that when you've got that, because the bouncing opportunities in most of these bosses is there all the time. So, and if you get a free hit that's a charge attack, it's really, really good. But yeah, as you said, he fucks around with the arena again, and that's what makes this boss one of the harder ones, I think, is that there's insta-death spikes that he's putting in random places, and he's running around, and you've got to avoid him at the same time. And
I very much enjoyed them. It never moved into frustrating for me, but the spikes are brutal, almost more brutal than really anything else in the game, just because everything else you sort of get a chance to come again at. The spikes just, you're dead, mate, sorry, carry on, get back to your checkpoint.
Yeah, in the Spectre Knight game, there's an upgrade you can get, I think, or it's like a cloak or something, like a suit of armor effectively, that just means you lose basically all of your life and magic meter when you land on spikes, but you don't die.
Oh,
so it brings you, so you'll fall into a pit or on some spikes where you would normally die, but instead of dying, you basically just have no health and no magic now, but you still get one last chance.
So if you get to the checkpoint, do you get refilled again, or is that?
I guess Well, he also has an item that allows you to regain health just by pressing Y. But you get health off of enemies and stuff, or in those little.
Oh, so just zero. It doesn't take them away from you. Just.
Oh no, sorry, no. It just depletes all your health and all your magic. So both your bars go all the way down to 0, but you're not dead. You get one more chance. So that's a kind of a cool mechanic change they put into that. 2 more to go. Clockwork Tower. Lots of conveyor belts. Yeah. Lots of conveyor belts that you typically are going in the opposite direction that you want them to go.
Big fan of the platform in this level. I really enjoyed it. It came at the right time for me as well. Not that I was getting bored, but it's just like it's such a fun switch up that I was sort of ready for, and I was like, yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah, because there's loads of
levels. This one.
Me too. One of loads of moving platforms. They're all they're on tracks. So you got those ones that are almost like a rolling. I think it's supposed to be like a rolling, like a cylinder that you can sort of sink down into a little bit. Those bits that sort of they shoot out and then they draw themselves back in again. Another one for a lot of auto scrolling moments as well. Lots of things to get out of the way while the things, because you've got like a massive platform that goes on and on and on for ages with spikes underneath and things to get out of the way of. Again, very, very Mario. And then it does then it sort of reverses the auto scrolling for the end of the game where you've got to jump upwards to the top of the tower. I think that might also be the bit where you get to use the punchy thing. Maybe you don't with that one, but yeah, instead of going left to right anyway, you go bottom to top. You've got to try and escape the bottom of the screen. I always enjoy something like that.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm just remembering what you're talking about. Yeah, it has that you talking about that has reminded of me of not quite as bad as the Medusa heads, but there's like they look like flying wands or something in this level, and there's a lot of bit where you're climbing up and up and up, and they keep sort of flying in the same cadence. You know how the Medusa heads in Symphony of the Night would sort of go up and down as it moved across the screen. These things do it as well. They look. The only thing I think of is they look like flying broomsticks. I don't know how to describe them. They'll be on that thing that you talked about, won't they? If I go to them, I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about rather than just muddle my way through this. Clockwork Tower. Another enemy that I was a big fan of is the welders that you get in this level. They're quite fun. I bet it's a Wisdom. Nope, it is not. Cog Slaughters? Nope, that's
fairies are back in this level as well. Oh, I know what you mean. They kind of look like
Sine Dagger, Sine Dagger.
Yeah, they're like little daggers with fire coming out the back, and yes, they are all over the fucking shop.
They love to knock you off your ladder, and yeah, just the movement of that enemy just reminded me of the Medusa heads from Symphony of the Night.
Oh yeah, just spam the screen with floaty flying stuff, and just do some hard platforming over that. I dare you. What do you think? Saying Tinker Knight. This is the one where you get that gear that I said is kind of useless, but yeah, Tinker Knight starts off a complete joke.
Yes, and then he's just sort of running around, this little midget guy,
just throwing spanners at you.
Yeah,
but then obviously jumps into a massive robot.
I really doubt that robot fight as well. I think it was really good fun because you got to try to work out how to get onto his head and stay up there as you
sort of jump off his missiles onto him. Yeah, and he's got like a big lance coming out of it. He's got like a shoulder pad with loads of spikes coming out. It's a really cool design for the boss. And if you can stay up there on the top of him, then he's pretty trivial. This is not a difficult fight. It's
just even nice and inventive. I thought was kind of what my takeaway from it was. Again, just
big Robotnik, Dr. Wily energy from that.
Absolutely.
The final normal stage, in for want of a better word, is flying machine. The one where you're Propeller Knight. Yeah, lots of wind effects there. Mario lost levels. Anybody? No, nobody. Lots of big gusts of wind that'll try and push you off a platform, or you have to use the gusts of wind to make longer or higher jumps. You've got those fucking little fan men, the little green fan guys who just try and like get in there and blow you backwards, or you're trying to make a jump or try and knock you off the platform you're standing on. Lots of fans on walls and ceilings again to try and put you off the jumps that you're doing.
And they also like to block you off as well.
Yeah.
There's another thing it likes to do. It's like it has, I don't know, these little sheets that you've got to walk behind. So yeah, you can't quite
Oh
see
yeah.
yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've
So,
got to
yeah.
be making jumps. That I just
Yeah.
like how this level, in terms of like mechanics, feels like a really well thought out culmination of everything you've had to do up to this point, but harder. And it even does it sort of within itself as well. So like when you start the level, it's got those. The only thing I can think of is like the sky jellyfish that as you bounce on them, they disappear.
Yeah.
And then it sort of builds up to that, and they become electric. So you've got to like you not only got to keep moving, because obviously the sky jellyfish will get you, or they disappear. Sorry, but they also become electrified. So you've got to keep moving in a cadence that the game wants you to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's one bit, isn't there, where they do stop being electric, like one after another from right to left. As
you've
you're
really got to be really precise with your timing.
What a weird coincidence that we've played Prince of Persia: Lost Crown followed by Shovel Knight, and both games have flying jellyfish platforms that turn electric after a while. What, did not expect that parallel there.
No, that is not one that would be expected.
There's yeah, like I said, aesthetically, I really like this because you've got these giant windows at the start where you can see the sunset. And you're doing a lot of like jumping on cannonballs and stuff to get over gaps. Felt very Mario 3 Airship, this level.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does.
The propeller dagger that you pick up in this is a very cool weapon.
Didn't get that. I don't think I had the money when I got to that.
Yeah, because there's a special level that you have to do. It's one of those little like bonus levels, isn't there, where you get loads of money through it, but you have to have the power to
that level. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one basically just lets you fly, just fly forward. You can just continually zoom across the screen in the air. And he sort of uses that kind of weapon in the Propeller Knight fight, where he has these sort of, he's like almost like a fencer. He's like lunging at you really quickly. He tries to blow you up into the sky with his propellers on his head and then try and catch you on his sword as you land, or tries to he gets like an airship halfway through the fight to like shoot cannonballs from the distance.
He does,
to make those holes in the floor, and then he tries to blow you into them with his head thing, his head propellers. But that's a very cool boss fight.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. But it's tough. That's a great level as well. Actually, it's one of my favorites.
Another one that's an excellent. I'm going to keep calling them skyboxes because I can't think of just a background art. I guess is probably the best descriptor. It's really, that's one that, again, I think I say this maybe once a podcast, but that's one I'd put on my wall.
Yeah, you do say that quite a lot. Yeah, that's a good shout though. Yeah, I really like the look of that one. It's just like, it's almost like it's the sunset vibes, isn't it? It's all like a sort of a golden orangey backdrop. You can see the Tower of Fate in the background, where obviously is our final goal.
Did you find it easy enough when it starts doing that stuff where you go in and it like changes the wind direction, so you've got to try and avoid the spikes as you move across the level, getting blown up and down left and right?
Yeah, that's hard, that bit. I failed that bit quite a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
Because everything that it's trying to blow you into is spikes, which is a one-hit death. So it's just I mean, all my Mario Lost levels experience didn't help me on that very much at all.
It just does that thing that I really like, where it takes something you've been using in one way and then makes you use it in a different way. So like it takes platforms that you've been jumping on for the whole game and makes you use them as, I don't know, like blocks, so that you can't be blown up into a spike. It's just sort of inverts itself. I love it when a game does that.
Yeah, spot on. And then we've already talked about the Enchantress and the boss fight with Shield Knight as well. So that's
just fun. But I think that, I guess you're right. That's very Mega Man. But to me, that's the perfect way to finish this game. It's just to make you run all the bosses again, one after the other.
Oh right, that I know, that's so good. I love that they did that. It sucks in Mega Man, but in this one it's not too bad because at least it gives you health in between each fight.
Yeah. Oh my.
Oh, and of course, after you've fought all of those dudes one at a time, they're all hanging off the edge of the tower, and
you did not save them, did you?
I just fucking walked off. I just let them, leave them there. Screw it. You helped them all up. But I love the fact that you did that, and then after you'd beaten the first part of the Enchantress, I think you were just reading what I'd written to you on Twitch, but you let Shield Knight eat shit because you're supposed to catch her, but you just let her slam into the ground. That was so funny. I thought, you've helped up all the bad guys, but the one that you're supposed to be in love with, you just she face planted hard on you again. That was really funny. A fantastic game. Obviously, it must have sold well. They've brought it out on almost everything.
Sold well enough. I think this is probably a good. I mean, it probably did sell well, but to me, this is a good example of games that, I don't know. It knew what it was and it went within its budget. It didn't try and spend 100 million quid. It just was like, right, this is a small, short experience that is going to chuck a lot at you. It's clearly not like a massive high budget game, but it doesn't need to be, and it doesn't lose anything from not being that. In fact,
absolutely,
it's probably better for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think in its first year it sold like 700,000 copies, and then up to 2019, the Treasure Trove has apparently sold like 2.65 million copies.
So it's probably been very successful.
Considering they made it for $300,000, that wasn't even their own money.
Yeah.
They did all right. And then, of course, there's all the sequels and things that we talked about at the beginning of the game. There's Shovel Knight Dig, which is this roguelite. Maybe we didn't talk about this at the beginning. Maybe we talked about it off air. But yeah, they've released the three expansions: Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, King of Cards. They're all in the Treasure Trove, which is well worth getting, and you can find it on things like CD keys or whatever, pretty cheap these days.
Yeah.
They did Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, which I have been very much had my interest piqued for, but I've never played, which is almost like a sort of Tetris Mr. Driller kind of thing going on with Shovel Knight involved. And the most recent one, Shovel Knight Dig in 2022, which is a roguelite that looks more like, I love the fact that it's got now it's gone to 16-bit graphics, almost as if they've decided to pretend it's had a generational leap from NES to SNES.
That's quite fun.
A fucking N64 game next up, please, would be very fun.
I would love to see them do stuff like that. Just slowly go up the generations.
It's, by the way, it's the tower. The first tower level of Fate is the green. It's the green rain.
Okay,
I think.
well found. Well done.
Yeah, the entrance to that. If you click that on that video, 1 hour 32 or whatever that's, I swear that's what you were talking about. That actually looks amazing. I forgot about that.
Yes. This is it. And there's parts in this level that they start hiding. I'm sure maybe it's. I was actually wondering if it was a bonus level.
It's effectively it's just the sort of wily level, isn't it? At the end, where you've got to go through the final boss area.
What's Forest of Phasing?
That's one of the bonus ones that you've got to use your little phase thing to go invincible to get through to get all the treasure.
Yeah, it must be Tower of Fate entrance. I just want to find it because there's bits where it starts using platforms, and the platforms are green and they're the same color as the background. It's the reason I thought it was Plague Knight, because in my head it was raining and there's also a green waterfall. This is good, isn't it, David? Come to your podcast totally unprepared. Let's say it's Tower of Fate. That seems right. Yeah, it is. It is Tower of Fate, because there's a bit here I've got at 136 where it's totally black. Yeah,
it's gone all silhouette again, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely love Tower of Fate entrance. I was a big fan of Tower of Fate. I think we've already spoken about this already, but the whole Tower of Fate section, because the next Tower of Fate, you've got to start going down, and there's all the spikes around you, and you go into the water, and you've got to dodge the spikes as you're dropping and hit the end and bounce on the enemies to dodge spikes again. It's just a really well done, the whole thing. I don't think there's a level I dislike.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. All the additional games they made are awesome. And did you see as well that they announced? I think it was during the whole Summer Games Fest thing. They announced a DX version of this.
No.
So I don't know how much it's going to be, but this is them commemorating the 10th anniversary as we are on this podcast.
So what are they putting in it?
They are they've also revealed they're going to make a brand new Shovel Knight game that doesn't have a title and has not been shown yet, but they have confirmed they are developing it.
Add this to my wish list.
They've hinted the clues of the nature of the title can be found in other Shovel Knight games, such as Shovel Knight Dig and Pocket Dungeon and Treasure Trove. So I don't know, but so they've put, yes, it's a bold new adventure that will launch Shovel Knight into an entirely new dimension of gaming. So that sounds like we might be getting the N64 version.
Oh, yes.
But yes, Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope, which they added in as a subtitle, like I think for the Treasure Trove in more recent years. It was just called Shovel Knight at first, but yes, Shovel of Hope has been added since then. So this DX version is the definitive version of the 2014 original with 20 new playable characters, a rewind function, save states, online multiplayer, cheats, and more. It doesn't have a release window or announced platforms yet. And they've announced that they gave some free DLC for both Shovel Knight Dig and Pocket Dungeon. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, they're doing this really well. This makes me like this company a lot, the way they've sort of handled the Shovel Knight IP.
Absolutely. And that's all I got to say about
the subsequent games are a lot of reused assets as well, so you've got to think it's been really cheaply done, which means that it's one thing that I find increasingly frustrating as the video game industry becomes more and more expensive and bigger teams, is that, like, I don't know, like we've spoken about this probably on a Gears podcast recently, and how long it takes them to get a sequel out. I mean,
we talked about this on the Prince of Persia one, I think.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, like the way that they've done this means that they've managed to bring out a game that everybody liked and then just like support it, bring out new games essentially to riff on what they've done before, and then they've obviously moved on to do other stuff afterwards, which is perfect. It's what I want. I don't want to be mid fucking 40s before I get to play another Fallout game. Like, just reuse some assets and give me another game, man. Fuck's sake.
Yeah. He's come out and said they're not going to worry and they're not rushing it, didn't he, today or the other day?
Yeah, which means they're not ready.
Which means they've got nothing at all.
I know this is a Shovel Knight podcast, but like there are things like with the launch of Fallout 76 and them announcing Elder Scrolls 6 700 years ago, and them bringing out a Fallout TV show and almost being caught off guard by how successful it was, and them just not having any sort of a game to go alongside that. Like,
yeah,
they flip between being the sublime and having these IPs that have sort of defined in many ways both of our gaming histories over the last 15 years, and being just fucking rank amateur. Like, what are they doing with a lot of their stuff? Like, just winds me up. Again, they've got the X-Files disease, from the sublime to the ridiculous.
They do. They need some of that Yacht Club magic to keep pushing out bangers.
I think and the thing that encourages me with games like Shovel Knight is that gamers, clearly there are markets for things that don't have to cost $300 million. You can have
barely
your
300,000.
Exactly. You can have your gimmick, or you can have your idea. You can go away and you can make your idea and make a successful game. And it doesn't have to have shiny puddles. We don't have to go through the rigmarole of nerds downvoting the Spider-Man game because, I don't know, the shiny puddles. Just learn games industry, because there are people here doing it properly. And they have been for, what did you say? This is the 10th anniversary? They've been doing it for a long time, and they're still managing fine. This game is as good today as it was 10 years ago. And guess what? It didn't cost $300 million.
Nope. And I guess the sequels probably didn't cost that much either.
No, they must have been very low budget.
Yeah.
I mean, like probably a bit of art and staffing costs, which is probably the most expensive part of making a game.
Yeah, get that one guy to do a bit of a different soundtrack for it, and off you go.
Yeah,
think up a new idea, freshen it up. That's all they kept doing, and it worked every time.
I think you chose
that card game is fucking awesome. You're gonna love that card game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that. But I think you put this game on our list of games to play. You must have done one of the best ones you've ever done, I think.
Oh,
that I can think of.
Lovely.
It was just a delight from start to finish. Hit me at the right time. Looks amazing, plays amazing, knows exactly what it is, doesn't try to be anything it's not. Awesome experience. Nice and short as well. Gets in and out.
Yeah,
like as much as I love this game, doesn't need to be a 30-hour epic, and it's not.
Yeah, boy.
But I'll no doubt end up putting that amount of time into it because I'm going to go back and 100% it after this podcast.
Yep. Play all the other ones.
Yes.
I bought Crow Country, by the the way, recently.
Oh, did you? Have you booted it up yet?
No, but I will do very soon, I think.
I think if you like that, it's sitting on my wish list. I think if you like that, I'm going to go off and buy that. Bit confused by it because it's like
because it's Resident Evil, but Final Fantasy VII graphics.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like
very strange. But that's not what we're playing next, of course. Do you want to do? So this will. When did I say this is going to come out? This will be out on the 26th. So I guess next up we should probably fulfill that promise of playing those SNES and Mega Drive games and get them out.
We promised that ages ago and we just haven't done that. So I guess that's next up.
Yeah, and then Animal Well after that, and then Resi.
Yep. Do we have a name for these 6 games, or am I just going to say next up 6 games?
I think we call it the Nintendo Switch Online Roulette or something, right?
That's it. Okay. Well, next up we've got the Nintendo Switch Online Roulette. Another fantastic suggestion by Alex, where we've got 6 games. I wrote them down. Where did I write them down? Can you remember what the 6 games are, Alex, that we're playing?
Yeah, we've already randomly drawn those games on our SNES Mega Drive top 10 list, and they are
Comic Zone.
Oh God.
Claymates, I think that is.
Oh, even more God.
Shinobi 3.
Amazing.
Kirby Dream Land 3.
Bland as fuck. I've tried that one.
Oh, have you?
Beautiful though.
Because that was one I was looking forward to.
It might get harder, but at the beginning it is very babyish, but it looks gorgeous. Okay. For a SNES game, it looks unreal.
Target Earth.
What was that?
That is it's a Mega Drive running gun thing, yeah. I need to remind myself about this because I have watched Target Earth playthrough many years ago with Jeff Gersman, and there's something to, I think, the mechs that you can control that is actually quite in depth for what it was at its time. And I also used to own a box copy of this game.
Oh, wow.
But I can't remember why or much about it. I can remember enough that I need to remind myself that there's something unique about this game. And the last one is Battletoads.
Oh, that's garbage. I tried that as well. It's absolute horseshit.
Oh, that'll be a fun. Can't wait for that then.
Wait, shit on that one, yeah. But that's the nature of randomly drawing them. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I like the idea of this because it just sort of makes me dig into a bunch of games that I definitely wouldn't be playing otherwise. And hopefully,
I hope like Shinobi 3 because it's an absolute banger. So I think you're going to enjoy that a lot.
I think almost certainly. I suppose that brings us to the end of another episode of the Winners U podcast. If you liked what you heard, and even if you didn't, why don't you give our numbers a bump by subscribing to our podcast on your podcast feed of choice? Or if you prefer to consume your podcast in a visual format, you can head on over to YouTube and search for our Winners U podcast, where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if the podcast isn't enough for you. And you can also give us a follow on the website formerly known as Twitter @WinnerIsUPod, and you can even send us an email to let us know how wrong we are about our gaming opinions. I haven't checked that in about 2 months, so sorry. I used to check that every time before we went to do a podcast. The email address for that is winnerisupod@gmail.com. I will make sure I check that before the next episode. Alex and I also have not Twitter, @SuperSmiley25 I think it is, and @SuperThrillix. And we have TikTok, so head on over there, search a Winners U Pod if you so wish. Alex, you've got any housekeeping?
No, we haven't recorded another thingy for a while, so no.
Have you not got a next up? What's your next?
That's handheld games still. I think we were planning to record this Thursday, but the England game's on, so some of them don't want to do it. So
that's that then.
Yeah, let's not have fun and watch England instead.
I know that bombshell. I've been David, he has been Alex, and we have been a Winners U, and I'm out.
Keep gaming. Steal thy shovel.